Question. Speaking of, let me ask you a question about an Egyptian leader. That by the time I realized that he was the one that brought my attention to the fact that Egypt had a leader that was of color was Sadat.
Not one. The first Egyptian to recapture Egypt when they overthrew Farouk, the man that overthrew Farouk, Mohammed Naguib. Nobody mentioned him. He was before Nasser. He was the first president of Egypt. He ruled for 14 months. Was born of a Sudanese mother and a Sudanese father, but he was born in Egypt. The second one had an African mother and an Arab father. That was Gamal Abdul Nasser. The third one had an African mother and an Arab father, was Mohammed Anwar Sadat. This is the first president of Egypt who did not have an African parent, and that's Hosni Mubarak, who has both Arab parents.
Why was Sadat assassinated? I mean, just
he assassinated because he went
a good president.
He went afoul of the Arab League. He was a member of the Arab League. The Arab League was not making any treaty for the economic salvation. Let's deal with the thing for the economic salvation of Egypt, and Egypt had carried most of the war against Israel when Israel attacked Egypt, and thus Sadat said, "Well, look, now we carried the war and we did all this, and our economy is shot. I'm going to make peace so I could build back my economy." Now, if I got a group with you, it's not a question of right or wrong, but I got an agreement with you. You leave me and go and negotiate with the enemy for some money. Then naturally, you subject yourself to get knocked off.
Right.
And that's what happened to Sadat.
In fact, it says Sadat. I guess I made him a hero because when I was in college, I was in college and they were celebrating the 20th anniversary boycott, and I had never seen a black person.
No, and it's based upon the propaganda that you are fed. You don't know that Egypt's first president was black.
Right.
First, second, and third presidents were black. And by American standard, if you got an African parent anyway, you're black. But in the case of the first president, you have both African parents.
Right.
Mohammed Naguib. Even in Egypt, they don't speak much about him.
Right.
Because he was the one that wanted a unification of the countries of the Nile.
Is there a conspiracy internationally, or are the only blacks that are still woolly-haired and brown-skinned the ones I see in America? Do they no longer exist in Africa? When I see Egypt and every time I see these, I never see anybody that looks like me anymore.
North Africa has been conquered.
Okay.
Remember, North Africa is under Arab control,
okay.
Like America. How often do you see an Indian? Okay, you know what I mean by indigenous person.
Right.
Unless you go on a reservation, you rarely see an Indian. And when you see most of them, it is the white man who have been mating with the Indian, now representing himself as an Indian. And 90% of the time, he who is doing that is an Indian because somebody in the family, but most of the time it's the European who mated with the Indian, his children claiming to be Indian for political reasons. The vast majority of the indigenous people would prefer to be away from the white man.
Okay.
Yeah, but you got blue-eyed white men calling themselves Indians. Yeah, their great-grandmother someplace back there might have been an Indian, or you follow what I'm saying?
Right.
But they down-to-earth Indian who on both sides of the family was indigenous to this land. You don't see him too much.
No.
You don't see him doing that. Extermination has been the process.
What can we do, or do you see? Yeah, I don't say what can we do, because you're the historian, and they say we're doomed to repeat our history if we don't learn from our past mistakes. I'm seeing drugs and everything else that have taken over our communities, and I'm trying to see, what do you feel that can be done at this point to...
You got to know yourself.
Okay.
You got to know your history. White people, you know why I raised 12 children.
Mm-hmm.
One boy is on drugs. He's right now in jail. But he's a professional. He got an MSW. And he's working for the welfare department. I think he's supervisor. And now he's doing a 2-year in detoxification place. That's his thing, drug. Now, he didn't get that as a little boy who had no money, hungry, and so forth. It's because drug is in the community. He got involved. None of his other 11 sisters and brothers. You got 11 other sisters and brothers. None of them get on that stuff. But still, I got one victim. Well, he take his heritage. You know, you could see what he had available to him. But the pressures of the drug life even got to him. You see, he was a singer. Mm-hmm. In the time when black people were singing with Asa Hilliard and Ray Thing and all of them in the Waldorf, this kid had gone there. He'd been warned by some of the top African artists, stay away from these people, stay away from drug. But no, he got slick like most of the artists. He know more than these people, he know more than his parents, and he got involved, right? Now he's paying the price. He's 6 years old and sitting in jail for 2 years for over drug. Now, so you got those things. What got to be done is that parents like me got to beat the hell out of those children. Don't let no sociologist in any college tell you you can't hit your child. Beat the hell out of them. I hit all of my children. Probably I was too light on his behind. But, but I'm not too light on the other children. No, it's just he got away. But we need to teach our children about themselves so they can appreciate themselves. Don't put a drug in their arm or put the drug in there. But, look at the fact. The African-American child who put drugs in them is generally the poor one or the misguided one and so forth. But the European, he put drug and he's the most sophisticated children. You see what I mean? So what we have to understand is that the economic pressure, the racism in society, institutional racism. You see, the thing in America isn't racism. Racism, every society got. Right. It is institutional racism that in other places where you may have an individual who don't like you or mistreat you racially. That's one thing. The thing in other society is not institutional. Right. It is not a start. The United States government released papers on racism that is as racist as could be. The Constitution started as a racist document. Right.
They had some kind of special with J. Edgar Hoover on talking about all the scandals and things.
Well, right now they got the year of this Constitution and bragging about it. I don't say a damn thing about the Constitution. To hell with it. Because it didn't make me a citizen. They had to have rethought. You see, we're going to have to assess history rather than gobbling everything they put in front of us. I won't celebrate Christmas. Adults? How could I celebrate? What the adults did for black people? Nothing. He got shot in the rectum defending a cracker from another one. He was defending the American cracker from the British cracker, right? And he got shot. He just had, but he didn't do enough for black people. I could see them McVezy, not Turner. They died for their people, right. Not Christmas adults. We have to be articulate. And to say just because a man is black don't mean a damn thing. You got a black man, there's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, born in his people from Jamaica in the Caribbean, and he write the whole attack on Panama. Don't tell me that fool didn't know that Panama is a black country. And the pretext of getting Oriega, they put Oriega there. When Bush and all of them headed the drug, what happened is the bagman Oriega stopped sending the full money to the owner Bush, and Bush them get mad that he was cutting off the drug money.
Yeah, but once again, when they show you Panama,
they don't show the blacks.
The media is very careful that you don't. That's what I'm saying. You don't even know blacks are in Panama.
All right, when
this is history right here. You're
right
telling
there.
me.
And the majority of the Panamanians are originally people from Jamaica and Barbados that went to build the canal. They don't show you that. They don't show you presidents they were black presidents of Panama.
No, they
don't show that. The majority of the people are black.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That where do you feel you think it can start with the smaller children? Because when I'm saying I'm understanding the institutional racism, but I'm seeing at this point the financial it seems like the racism is tied into economics, which ties you into despair. So
that's right.
And I'm just trying to figure: do you see a way out?
There's no magical place to start. You got to start everywhere, because you can't say with the young children, then the parents don't know. So how they're going to teach the young children?
Right.
I say it got to be a multi-pronged attack from every angle that we can think. Those of us who have this knowledge got to teach those of us who don't have the knowledge, and it doesn't come from the church, the radio, it comes from everywhere.
But should
the church need to do its work rather than try to send people up to heaven. The church need to deal with people down here on earth and deal with our earthly problem. We're going to die anyhow. We don't need the church to die, and we don't need the church to do good.
Right.
A man could do good without the church, but the church, the old church of Richard Allen, had history classes, they had books, they had things that teach about people who are proud to be black. But even in the church look at people with funny if they come with their natural hair. Right. But if you come with a Jerry curl, it's okay. Yeah. See, this is the church. The church doesn't...
The black church still comes across in a way a lot of it's presented. I remember asking a prophet recently, was it a white man's religion? Because I grew up in a black church, but you still see in most black people's homes, if they have a picture of Jesus at all,
white Jesus.
Blonde hair,
it's always Michelangelo's cousin.
Okay.
And that's the picture Michelangelo drew for Pope Julius. They don't know the history. Mm-hmm. Until that time, it was the Black Madonna and Child. Even in the Pope of Rome, where do you got to celebrate? At the feet of the Black Madonna and Child in Poland. Up until Michelangelo's Jesus, Mary, and Joseph was always shown black. The icons in the Soviet Union, the paintings all over Spain and so forth, is the Black Madonna and Child. They still exist. Ethiopia, Black Madonna and Child. Everywhere in the world it was the Black Madonna and Child until Michelangelo drew the first white Jesus for Pope Julius and the church.
Because they say that Jesus had to study in Egypt because they had to leave. The Christian concept is that they had to leave Israel or wherever they were.
He studied in Egypt because nobody has had the intelligence to teach him anything. There was nothing there in Egypt. That's what in Israel and Egypt and Israel and Rome and all the Greeks, they came to Africa to get their education. Mm-hmm. That's where men start fighting, where men start putting mathematics, and the documents are there, the artifacts are all over the place.